George Harrison is disliked by the top three musicians. George Harrison, popularly known as the Quiet Beatle, became well known for his profound lyrics, remarkable guitar playing, and spiritual insights. His collaboration with Sita maestro Ravi Shankar, which made Indian instruments and musical genres more widely known, was a major factor in his contribution to the Western music world. Songs like My Sweet Lord and All Things Must Pass demonstrate his dedication to spiritual topics. Harrison used his notoriety to promote his beliefs in meditation, inner serenity, and self-discovery. His exploration of spiritual themes enhanced his songs and inspired many listeners and other musicians to follow in his footsteps. Harrison experienced considerable success as a solo artist following the breakup of the Beatles, and his 1970 triple album All Things Must Pass is considered to be among the best solo albums by a former Beatles member. Hits like My Sweet Lord and What Is Life were produced by the album, enhancing Harrison's standing as a formidable solo artist. Harrison has influenced many styles of modern music, like as rock and world music, and he is largely responsible for the mainstreaming of non-Western instruments. He wasn't, however, well liked by everyone in the music industry. These three musicians openly showed their contempt for him. Gallagher Liam. Even though Oasis loved the Beatles, Liam Gallagher's criticism of George Harrison was unvarnished. In an MTV interview, the singer responded to Harrison's comments about Oasis, specifically mentioning Gallagher, by saying, "If any of those old farts have a problem with me, they should leave their Zimmer frames at home, and I'll take them down with the right hook." Gallagher called Harrison's nipple and said he would tell him straight that he loved the Beatles and Harrison's songs. Although I still think George Harrison is a nipple as a person, I still adore the Beatles and George Harrison as one of their songwriters, and I'll tell him if I ever get to meet him. And nipple if you're looking. Gallagher called Harrison the foolish one for taking such accusations seriously, and accused him of being credulous, accepting the way the media portrayed him. John Lennon. The connection between Lennon and Harrison was especially complicated, changing from fraternal friends to rivals, to classmates, to teacher mentors. When Lennon's solo work was contrasted with Harrison's, he became agitated, particularly because of their divergent perspectives on spirituality. He thought the analogy was sloppy, emphasizing that although Harrison was a Hindu, his own songs frequently criticized religion. Following the dissolution of the Beatles, Lennon openly mocked the individual careers of Paul McCartney, Harrison, and Ringo Starr. He publicly acknowledged that he had not been pleased with one of Harrison's performances, referring to it as not the greatest thing in history. In an interview, Lennon expressed his frustration with these analogies by stating that he didn't want to be compared to George. Why should George and I be compared? Additionally, he was offended that Harrison left him out of I, Me, Mine, his memoir, which he believed showed bitterness from their history. George and I had a connection where we were both older men and young followers. We have a love-hate relationship, and I believe George still has grudges against me. Graham Nash believed the Hollies did a good job when they sang George Harrison's song, If I Needed Someone, but Harrison said they had ruined it and sounded like session musicians. This was not taken lightly by Nash, who wrote in his book that Harrison behaved as though he owned the song and had the sole right to interpret it. He reminded readers that cover versions had been done by the Beatles themselves. Nash told the media how disappointed he was and criticized Harrison for demeaning a smaller band like the Hollies with his fame. He also asked if Harrison would still take royalties from a cover version he didn't like. St. George didn't know when to keep his snarky remarks to himself. Nash wrote in his book, no one else could interpret the music, he thought, and he owned it. The Beatles have also performed their own covers. I ought to have brought up his own inferior devil in her heart. 2 weeks after his remarks, I was still furious. We are not only disappointed and upset by these remarks, but we are also fed up with the Beatles' actions and words being interpreted as law. Do you believe their critiques were warranted? Leave a comment below with your opinions.